Well, first thing first, I've been asked sometimes, what is a more efficient humidifier? There is no such thing. Humidifiers have to boil water uh, in some form, and that will always cost the same amount of, or take the same amount of kWh or BTUs or whatever. Obviously, if it's gas, you do have an efficiency, whereas if it's electric, it's 100% efficient. Uh, the best practice, when you look at minimizing or optimizing your humidification, we're more talking about making sure your sensors are correct, that your set point are realistic, and if you use outside air economizer, realize that it will cost you in humidity costs. So if you have the possibility of using a water side economizer rather than an air side economizer, it will reduce significantly your humidification cost. The more outside air you bring in the winter, the more humidity you have to input into your airstream, so the more costly. So when we're dealing about minimizing humidification cost, proper sensors calibration is critical. Proper set point that are not too high. You might have heard that during pandemic, you should maintain 40 to 60%. I would invite you to be very careful about that. It has a lot of building envelope issue if you do this in many cases. And Public Health Ontario actually published a position paper not too long ago where they say that there is no proof that 40 to 60% relative humidity in a building has any impact on pandemic or COVID-related questions. So I would say make sure you select a set point that your building can, I'd say, sustain without, condensation. Then make sure your sensors are properly calibrated. And then for dehumidification purposes, when you do dehumidification, same thing. When you dehumidify, it will be done through your cooling system. So you won't save necessarily by changing how you humidify. It's really the set points, the sensor you're using, and if you dehumidify, and that's usually, let's say, limited to a few type of buildings where active dehumidification is present. You try to reuse the condenser heat to reheat. When you dehumidify, you have to subcool the air, which means it's too cold to send into the building. You could reheat that air because you need to reheat it with natural gas or electricity. It is very wasteful. If you have a DX system or any type of actually a heat recovery chiller, anything like that, when you need to reheat your air, as much as possible, use condenser heat, which would recirculate, which would actually recycle the heat that you use to dehumidify. So that's really one thing where you have to be very careful about dehumidification, is trying to reuse that heat that has been actually rejected from the dehumidification process.